I started with Pray for Columbus in 2014, helping to steward the concert of prayer, prayer guides, and devotionals from city leaders all over Central Ohio. So Pray for Ohio actually was launched in 2017 out of Pray for Columbus. And really it started in praying for Loudonville and the villages around Loudonville because there were believers who were so inspired by what God was doing in Columbus. They wanted to see it in their villages. And we really felt led by the Lord to not just choose the villages around Loudonville, but to pray for the whole state of Ohio. We started circulating prayer guides through prayer cards and evangelistic pamphlets throughout Ohio. And then we started a prayer call every month. And every month we would feature a ministry, a pastor, or a church leader to talk about their kingdom work all around the state of Ohio. Well, when I started with Pray for Columbus back in 2014, I was actually the nonprofit arm of Highland. And so Pray for Ohio just continued to be that nonprofit arm of Highland when we launched in 2017. Well, Pray for Ohio is really connected to other statewide networks. There's a Good Communities network all across the state of Ohio. There's also some statewide prayer networks that we're connected to as well. I recently spoke with a friend who was at a conference all about the underground church. And in this conference, there was talk about some recent studies that had been made on mission, prayer, and evangelism. So mission by itself grows by 2% every year. That's a documented statistic. When you add prayer, it actually grows to 22% growth. When you add worship, it goes up to 30%. And so I believe with all my heart that prayer and discipleship go hand in hand. It's like a left foot and a right foot. You have to have both. It's not one to the exclusion of the other. And so I see the mobilization of prayer through Pray for Ohio as something that is blowing on the on the flames of revival all around our state. Our vision is to see a flourishing Ohio where all 88 counties are saturated with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And to get there, we want to mobilize prayer as often as possible. We do that through weekly prayer prompts in our Wednesday noon prayer. We also have a monthly prayer guide that goes out to tens of thousands of intercessors all across Ohio. And then also we have monthly prayer Zoom calls that are statewide. Just recently we had our first annual prayer leaders retreat where many different cities were represented: Toledo, Cincinnati, Dayton, Springfield, Cleveland, Columbus, Lancaster, Mount Vernon, and other areas. Our goal is to see every single county represented at this annual retreat, where we're seeing we're fanning the flames of revival all throughout our state, and we're seeing the gospel saturate every neighborhood. Some of our challenges would be that not everybody is engaged in prayer. I think sometimes people see prayer as being tedious or just something that's not very enjoyable. So I see one of my roles as showing how prayer is actually very enjoyable. It can even be fun, it's engaging, and that's what prayer is meant to be. So sometimes there's a challenge in connecting what goes on in your prayer closet or in the prayer room with tangible results. And one way we've approached this is just in the city of Columbus, we started to put forth very specific, measurable prayers where we could tangibly see an outcome. And if we saw that outcome, God would get all the glory, right? So just this past year, the city of Columbus saw the sharpest drop in all forms of violent crime, and that was the steepest drop compared to every other major city in the United States. Several years prior, we had been praying specifically that there would be a dramatic decrease in all forms of violent crime. And so to me, this is absolute tangible evidence that God was answering our prayers. And so statewide, we are including 3 very specific measurable prayers. We have them listed in topics that start with S. So number 1, we have salvation. And then the second is shalom, and the third is students. Under salvation, we're praying that the percentage of Christians would increase faster than the general population. Under shalom, we are praying for a dramatic decrease in all forms of crime, addictions, mental health issues, and human trafficking. And then finally, under students, we're praying that there would be a great increase in students performing at or above grade level. So to get involved, you can text the number on the screen or on the website and write Pray USA, and you'll get prayer prompts every Wednesday at noon. Well, I like to say that there's a secret sauce in prayer. And the thing is that so many people equate prayer to petitioning, right? Asking God for things. And the thing that changes your perspective and changes even the very atmosphere around your prayers is when you lift your eyes and behold the glory of God. The best way to do this is just to meditate on His attributes, the various names of God, and behold His character, right? His glory is His character revealed. And when we spend time magnifying the Lord over and above our prayer requests, everything shifts, everything changes, and it's amazing the effect of our prayers when we approach the Lord in that way. Back when I was stewarding the Pray for Columbus movement, we had a number of folks giving us feedback that, hey, it's great that you're praying, but what are you doing? And we did want to tie our prayers to something tangible. And so in 2016, we launched this initiative called For Columbus Kids. And the campaign was to see every single school adopted by a church or a Christian nonprofit. And it was amazing. We saw church school adoptions go from 25% coverage to over 75% coverage just before COVID. And then during COVID, we were able to meet the city's needs when it came to remote learning for students. Because we had generated so much trust with city leaders and administrators at these schools, we were actually approached to see if we could have these learning extension centers during COVID that would provide meals and remote learning and a safe space for students to learn because they couldn't be in their classrooms. The learning extension centers started really because we had already been cultivating relationships of trust with city leaders, and the city leaders approached our network and asked if we could mobilize these remote learning centers. And I was helping with the administration behind the scenes, so not everybody reported on their data. I think about 2/3 of the data came in, but combined, when we added up all of these different centers, there were over 100 of these learning extension centers all over Central Ohio, bringing in students. We served well over 30,000 meals. We mobilized tens of thousands of volunteer hours. I know we also were able to have donated Chromebooks to a lot of these students so they could have remote learning as well. And that's really a picture of collective impact. You know, not one organization can reach the entire city, but when many organizations come together, when they work together and collaborate, it's amazing what can happen. And this was definitely a testimony to that. We made newspaper headlines, and there were many, many testimonies that came in of students who did really well because they were getting the help that they needed. I think there is a collective waking up to the power of prayer and the power of worship and prayer together. I'm seeing it with momentum behind a lot of our prayer breakfasts and worship nights throughout the city. It really seems all the statistics are saying that Gen Z is the most open generation to the gospel, and I believe there is a heart and a desire in older leaders to invest in the next generation. And so all of these are signs that point towards just a lot of hope that I have for our city and for our state.